Hello and welcome to our final episode for 2022. We wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Here we go. The South African Railways Class 6 460 of 1893 was a steam locomotive from the pre-Union era in the Cape of Good Hope. In 1893 and 1894, the Cape Government Railways placed 40 6th class steam locomotives in service, 22 on its Western system and 18 on its Midland system. 10 were sold to the Oranje Vrystaat Government Spoorwegen in 1897. At the end of the Second World War in 1902, these 10 became the Class 6L1 on the Central South African Railways. In 1912, all 40 locomotives were renumbered and designated Class 6 when they were assimilated into the South African Railways. To meet the increasing weight of fast passenger trains on the Western and Midland systems, the 6th Class 460 passenger steam locomotive was conceived and designed at the Salt River Works of the Cape Government Railways, CGR, at the same time as the 7th Class, both according to the specifications of Michael Stevens, then Chief Locomotive Superintendent of the CGR, and under the supervision of H.M. Beatty, then Locomotive Superintendent of the Western System. Whereas the 7th Class was conceived primarily as a goods locomotive, the 6th Class was intended to be its fast passenger service counterpart. The 6th Class was to become one of the most useful classes of locomotives to see service in South Africa. They were fast, easy to handle, good steamers, and had an exceptionally low maintenance cost, with long periods between major overhauls. Let's now discuss the service these locomotives provided for the different railway companies over their lifespan. Cape Government Railways. The 6th Class was introduced primarily as a passenger locomotive, but when it became displaced by larger and more powerful locomotive classes, it literally became a jack of all trades, which proved itself as one of the most useful and successful locomotive types to be designed at the Salt River shops. It would eventually see service in all parts of the country except Natal and would be used on all types of traffic. Oranje Vrystaat Government Spoorwegen. 2 of the Western and 8 of the Midland Systems locomotives were sold to the Oranje Vrystaat Government Spoorwegen (OVGS) in 1897 and renumbered in the OVGS number range from 60 to 69. The OVGS designated them 6th Class L. Central South African Railways. When the Orange Free State was occupied by the invading British forces during the Second World War, these OVGS locomotives were taken over and used by the Imperial Military Railways, IMR, but not renumbered. When the IMR reverted to civilian control after the war and became established as the CSAR in 1902, these 10 locomotives were designated CSAR Class 6L1 and renumbered in the range from 336 to 345. South African Railways. When the Union of South Africa was established on 31 May 1910, the 3 colonial government railways, Cape Government Railways, Natal Government Railways, and Central South African Railways, were united under a single administration to control and administer the railways, ports, and harbours of the Union. Although the South African railways and harbours came into existence in 1910, the actual classification and renumbering of all the rolling stock of the 3 constituent railways were only implemented with effect from 1 January 1912. In 1912, these 40 locomotives were renumbered in the range from 401 to 440 on the South African railways and designated Class 6. The rest of CGR's 6th Class locomotives, together with the Class 6L2 and 6L3 locomotives, which had been inherited by the CSAR from the OVGS via the IMR, were grouped into 13 more subclasses by the SAR. The 460 locomotives were designated SAR Class 6A to 6H and 6J to 6L. The 262 locomotives were designated SAR Class 6Y and the 264 locomotives were designated Class 6Z. In Cape Town, the Class 6 held a monopoly over the suburban service until electrification took place in 1928. On the reef, they also worked in suburban service between Randfontein and Springs until the loads became too heavy for them. They were employed on branch lines all over the country. Natal accepted, and practically every big station and several smaller ones had its quota of these handy locomotives to work the local passenger goods and shunting services. Sudan Railways. During the Second World War, 16 locomotives of the Class 6 to 6D were transferred to the Middle East to assist with the war effort during the North African Campaign. The 7 Class 6 locomotives in this group were numbers 402, 403, 406, 417, 421, 423 and 436. They were sold to the Sudan Railways Corporation in 1942 and were renumbered in the range from M700 to M706, in the same order as their former SAR engine numbers. Currently, there is one Class 6 locomotive in service by Rovos Rail, number 439. It is currently the oldest operating steam locomotive in South Africa. On the 15th, 16th and 17th of December, Umgeni Steam Railway held Carols by Candlelight. They took a trip to Bottershill and went back to Inchanga Station to enjoy the carols. Here's some footage. Well, thank you for watching. That's a wrap from us. Once again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you in the new year.
Please remember to like, subscribe and comment down below.
The signals that proceed,
The platform's clear.
you may depart.